Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Namaduhu wa nasalli ala Rasulih al-Kareem. Viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Continuing with verse 186 of Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "And when my servants ask you about me, surely I am near. I answer the call of the supplicant when he calls to me, so let them answer my call and believe in me that they may be rightly guided." So Allah Ta'ala is stating the principle that a person who calls on Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala listens, but Allah wants him to listen to him, to the person, to Allah also. So it's people ask Allah for their needs, but unfortunately many times people do not listen to Allah. And listen to Allah means obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a very important point that very often people forget. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is listening. What some people asked, is Allah close or is he far, that we have to shout. So they were told that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala listens. Whatever is in your heart, even that He knows what's in your heart. So you don't have to shout, you don't have to speak loud. Allah is aware. No matter what language you speak, no matter what you're thinking, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power, His knowledge is so much that He knows everything inside and outside. So people should know that Allah is close. When people want to listen to Allah, they have to listen to the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the Quran. And if they want Allah to listen to them, they have to turn to Salat. So when a person is making Salat, he is praying to Allah, he is asking for help, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is listening to him. And when he wants to listen to Allah, then he picks up the Quran, and then Allah is talking to him. So it's very important for people to not just to listen, but also to obey. Listening doesn't mean just listening, it means obedience. In order to get guidance, in order to get the right knowledge, it's important to turn to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The verses that follow 187 onwards are about the Sharia, about the rules and regulations of Islamic Sharia. Now it's very important to mention this here, that when it comes to rules of the Sharia, no translation can do justice to the Quran. The translator is only trying to capture the words and according to his or her understanding, and trying to convey the message. But keep in mind that the Sharia is very vast, and there are experts, people who have spent their lives studying the Sharia. And to understand or get a good understanding, it is, if anybody is interested, they should look into the material, the books that have been written, and the tafsirs that have been written. So simple translation will not be of much help. It will give a person some idea, but in some cases it might even give the wrong impression. So this is just to alert the viewers, the readers of the Quran, that no translation can do justice when it comes to the rules and regulations of the Sharia. And many people just read the translation and they get turned off because they think that what they're reading is not according to their understanding, or not according to their sense of right and wrong. So it's very important for people to go to the experts. Just like in law, people go to the experts to get a proper understanding of the law. So when it comes to the Sharia, the law, the experts are the ones who can explain the wisdom and the details. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam spent 23 years with companions, with the Sahaba, to explain the Quran. The Quran was being revealed, or the Quran was revealed over a period of 23 years, and he was giving instructions. He was explaining the Quran. Now, there is no course in universities or anywhere that runs for 23 years. Imagine this is a course that ran for 23 years, and the book was explained over a period of 23 years. So if you see, it's like from a child, it's from the beginning, from kindergarten, goes all the way to PhD. So imagine there's one teacher and there's one course, and these students are going through that every day, not just summer session and fall and spring. This is like throughout the year, every day. So he was instructing the Sahaba as to the meaning of the Quran. So people who think they can understand the Quran just by reading a translation, they are just not really understanding the depth. So it's like trying to understand a course that ran for 23 years in a short period of a few days. So they're not going to get that understanding. So this is just to alert and make people understand that if they want to see the depth, the wisdom behind this, they will have to spend time. And of course, not everybody is really interested. Most people are interested only in the acts of worship. People have their needs, they have their questions, they turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance on their matters, personal matters, or other issues. So for everybody, it's not essential. Just like in real life, people don't have to study books of medicine to become knowledgeable. They go to the experts, and the experts will give them the solution which is necessary. So if there is an issue about the Sharia, people can always go to the experts and seek their help. But the translation is only to give people just a very broad, general idea. For example, in 187, verse 187, this is the verse relating to the fasting. These are the rules about fasting in the month of Ramadan. It says, "It is made lawful for you to go to your wives on the night of the fast. They are a garment for you, and you are a garment for them. Allah knew you were betraying yourselves, so he relented towards you and pardoned you. So now lie with them and seek what Allah has ordained for you, and eat and drink until the white thread of dawn becomes distinct from the black thread. Then complete the fast until nightfall, and do not lie with them at any time while you are in ittikaf, secluded for devotion in the mosques. These are the limits set by Allah, so do not go near them. Thus Allah makes clear his signs for mankind that they may fear Allah." So this ayat of the Quran can only be understood with the help of the experts. There is a lot of material here, and the translator cannot do justice to something which has so many rules in it. So if people are interested, they will have to go to people who are trained muftis, trained scholars, recognized scholars, not everybody. This is one of the problems of the modern times, that everybody who can read the Quran or who can read the translation considers himself or herself to be qualified to give opinions. It's just like somebody picks up the law book and starts giving legal advice. So this is very dangerous, and people should stay away from that. The translation is just a starting point, just to get people interested in doing research. This is just like an advice that for our understanding of the Quran, it is a lifelong effort. It's an effort for people who are interested in learning the wisdom. They will have to spend time, and only they know how much time they are able to spend on that. But making judgments based on the translations is not a very good idea. In verse 188, once again, it talks about the rules of Sharia. It says, "Do not devour each other's property by unjust means, nor seek to influence the authorities with it, that you may sinfully eat up a portion of the other people's property while you know." In 189, it goes on to say, "They ask you about the new moons. Say they are indicative of time and for the people and for the pilgrimage, and it is not righteousness to enter the houses from the back, but righteous is he who fears Allah. So enter the houses by their doors and fear Allah, that you may be successful." Now, a verse like that, of course, has a background. And to understand what was the reason for the revelation of this verse, you will have to go to the books that have explained what was the reason for the revelation. Like in those days, people would enter the houses from the back, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said this practice is not right. And of course, verses about honesty and things like that. And there are books and books. There are a lot of material as to what exactly is meant by these ayat of the Quran. But the verse about the moons, the time, it's very important to know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept two giant clocks for mankind, all over visible to all people all over the world. The sun and the moon. The moon is the clock that tells the months of the year, whether it's Ramadan or Muharram or Safar, etc. And the sun is the time clock for telling whether it is Isha time or Fajr time or Zohar time. So even without technology, even without watches, people are still able to fast. People are still able to pray because Allah has prescribed the time for prayers. And by looking at the clocks, which are visible to all people all over the world, they are able to perform their acts of worship. So the moon is like the hadith about, if you don't see the moon, the crescent, then you complete your 30 days. If you're fasting the month of Ramadan, then you complete 30 days if you do not see the moon. And same, if you don't see the moon, then you complete 30 days before you begin the fast. So in other words, if there's no technology available and you're just looking at these giant clocks, then you are able to perform the duties that are prescribed. Like fasting is prescribed, prayer is prescribed, salat has to be done, fasting has to be done, and people are able to do these acts of worship. But having said all that, once again, these are ayat that deal with the most important acts of worship. So people who are interested in doing research should look into the material, and there are recognized scholars who have produced a lot of literature over the centuries, and that would be helpful. The translation is only good for beginners to start the process of learning. Verse 190, it goes on to say, "And fight in the way of Allah with those who fight with you, and do not transgress. Allah does not like transgressors." Now, this ayat can also be misunderstood. A translation can be very misleading, because unless a person knows the background, when this ayat was, or in what circumstances this was revealed, people might be misled. So the principle is very simple, that defensive fighting is allowed. And people who are fighting, who are causing oppression, Allah has allowed, like in the beginning, when the oppressors, the enemies of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, were oppressing them, they were just going through the hardships without taking any defensive measures. So in the period of Makkah, the companions of Rasulullah suffered a lot of hardship, a lot of oppression, a lot of persecution. But in Medina, when they migrated, permission was granted to them to fight back and defend themselves. And this is what happened when the kuffar, the unbelievers, came after them to kill them. Then permission was given to them to fight with them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent his help, his angels, to help Rasulullah sallallahu and his companions. And this is how the battles were won against the unbelievers. So these ayats have to be read, these verses have to be read in the context of the history and what were the times, what was going on between these people who were trying to kill Rasulullah sallallahu and trying to wipe out all traces of Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about those situations where there was oppression. So oppression is not liked by Allah. So when people go beyond, like Pharaoh was oppressing his people, he was killing the children, he was killing the people of Musa alayhi salam, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed him in the end. The verse of 191 also is a verse that can be easily misunderstood if you read the translation. It says, "And kill them wherever you find them, and drive them out from where they drove you out, for persecution is worse than slaughter. And do not fight with them near the sacred mosque. Unless they fight you there, then you may kill them. Such is the recompense of the disbelievers." So keep in mind that when Rasulullah started giving the message, he started with his own family and the people of Makkah. And these people were very hard on them. They started attacking them in all different ways, and the few people who followed Rasulullah suffered a lot of harm at their hands. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is then telling them that when the Muslims were able to defeat them in the battles, then they were allowed to take the fight, but to them. But at the same time, they were not allowed to fight them near the sacred mosque. That's the Kaaba. So Allah Ta'ala is reminding the believers that they have a duty to protect themselves. So this verse is sometimes misunderstood or misinterpreted, and sometimes people get a completely wrong idea. But it has to be looked at from the context in which it was revealed. And as I said before, there is a lot of material, there are a lot of books, the tafsirs are available, which the viewers, the readers can look at and get more knowledge. So once again, to remind that translations cannot do justice to many verses of the Quran. Having kept that in mind, one should read the translation with this understanding that it's not going to give them a complete knowledge or the complete understanding of the divine book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In verse 192, "But if they desist, surely Allah is most forgiving, most merciful." This is the principle of peace, that if they turn to peace, then you also turn to peace. There is no hostility, there is no aggression. Islam does not promote aggression, just fighting people just for the sake of dominating them. The person's purpose is not to dominate people. The purpose is to disseminate, to give the message. All the prophets came to help people, to give them the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their purpose was not to oppress people or not to deprive them of their material material, their properties, just like other conquerors who came into the world to take control over territories, control over people. That was not the purpose of the coming of the prophets. Their purpose was to help people, to give them guidance, to save them from destruction. It's just like there is a fire in the house, and the fire brigade, the fire people, come to put out the fire. So when they are coming, they have to clear the roads so that they can come and help the people. So the prophets came to help the people, to save them from the deceptions of the shaitan, save them from the deceptions of the devil, to save them from the hellfire. So they came to help those people, but if any people become obstacles, then they are removed. Just like if people are trying to stop the fire truck from going and stopping the fire, then the people who are trying to stop that, they will be crushed in the process. This is the message. This is a message for all mankind, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes or wants people to follow the straight path. So inshallah, we'll continue with this. Having said this, it is important that translations should be read to start the process of learning, but at the same time, one should not look at other material that is available for more understanding. We ask Allah to give us the knowledge and also to give us the ability to practice what we know. Wa akhirat dawana in alhamdulillah rabbil alameen.